My name is Peter Carter. I'm the editor of today's trucking magazine. That's my full-time job. I teach part-time, and I've been a writer for many years, been an editor in Toronto for 30 years.
My name is George Pereira. Well, in the industry itself, I interned at the CBC for an entire summer. I was there for 4 months working with the Live Right Now team, which is basically CBC's healthy living, active lifestyle branch, and it's purely online. Before that, I worked as the editor-in-chief for the Emerge magazine project here at the University of Guelph Humber.
I'm Kathy Ullyott, and right now I'm the Assistant Program Head for Media Studies at Guelph Humber. Previously, I've spent most of my career in magazine journalism. I started out at Canadian Press, and I made a detour through a public relations agency, and for the last 30 years I've worked in magazines, primarily women's magazines. So I was the editor-in-chief of Homemakers, I was the executive editor of Canadian Living, managing editor of Flair, copy chief at Chatelaine, and a writer for all of those and more.
It's changed immensely for the better, no question.
Gosh, I don't even know where to start. So with digital, with publications and brands going online, that opened up two major, I guess, channels of difference. And the first is how we generate and consume content. And secondly, how we pay or not for that content. So those are obviously related. It's the financial aspect that I think is most profoundly changing how we consume media.
The internet has made it very, very, very competitive, has made getting people's attention and holding their attention very competitive.
I would say that I've worked primarily in online. I have a great appreciation for print journalism, and I really like the products that are specifically made for print, but I feel like online is easier to work for, it's more open-ended, and if you have something that you want to provide or create or just insert into any sort of media landscape, online gives you the opportunity to do that without much hassle.
That's an interesting question. I think until about 2005, definitely print, and that's what I did was print. Probably from 2005 to 2011, half and half, print and online, maybe even more, maybe even a bit more online.
A year ago, I didn't, well, not a year ago, that's exaggeration. 2.5 years ago, I didn't know what a blog was, and I didn't understand it, and now I'm loving it.
By the mid-2000s, we were starting to think, okay, how can we work with these as one brand? What can we do that makes sense in print as well as online so that the two will feed each other?
Gosh, you could do a story with video in it and audio, and you could bring the car to life. And it's just a very exciting time to be alive in journalism.
Merging print and online, because you have so many tools at your disposal, I can provide many aspects and many details on a story, on the same story, for many, many different kinds of people. I can tell it in print, I can tell it through photos, I can do an interview. It's for somebody whose career was primarily in print, it's like all of a sudden this big stage has opened up with all of these possibilities.
The newspaper stayed magazine world was a very short period of time, you know. Now we're in this very exciting time.
Just a huge explosion in 10 years.
I don't know. It's like religion. We believe that people are reading things online, and we believe people are reading things in the magazine. We believe people are reading our blogs, and it's a big act of faith.
Well, I think that when you try and merge any media, you're going to lose some of its authenticity. You're going to lose some of what makes it special or unique, or just the reason that people go to that in the first place. So print, when you try and put that online, you maybe take away from the authenticity of a print article or a magazine article. And people like newspapers, right? People who read newspapers, they like them, and people who read magazines just like magazines. So I think when you try and turn it into an online magazine or a digital-only magazine, I mean, you replicate the source material, but you can't 100% transfer that, I guess, feeling, you know? And that, I think, is what makes a lot of media special. People just gravitate towards what they really like.
Now, journalists have to go even further than that and actually reach out to those potential readers and say, I've got this story here that you want to read. And they need to be savvy on all of those social media platforms as well.
I think that's the future of media. I think some sort of consolidated platform where you can choose what you prefer. So if you like print, you can read print, or if you prefer online, you can go straight to online. But there exists some sort of cohesion between the two mediums, or the media, I should say. and that, I think, is where media is going to, I think that's the direction of the industry.
Most importantly, read as much as you can. You don't really, I believe that you can't write news unless you read news.
You have to take the time you have now to do the best you can to eventually get that job instead of just sulking and hoping that one day it comes around.
If you don't accept people's rote answers, and if you ask people how they are and mean it, you'll find stories that then you'll find places to tell them. So don't set your sight on getting a paycheck, just set your sight on being a journalist.